Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode, the very first episode of India's In. Why do I say India's In? Well, it's 2021, and indie music is in, and it's not hard to find. It's everywhere. I remember in the 90s. Oh my God, I remember going to high school. I went to high school in the 90s, and I graduated in '96, although I was supposed to graduate in '94. But, I partied a lot. I stayed back twice. Um, Grabbed my diploma at 20. It was insane. But um, I remember in the 90s, my friends who liked music, and they would come up to me and be like, "Oh my God, have you guys checked out this band? They're so good. It's this indie band from, you know, Lowell, Massachusetts. They're really good." And the funny thing is that if you had a CD from this indie band, you didn't buy it at the local store. You didn't get it at Blockbuster, or not Blockbuster, but Capitol Records, or what was that record store? Strawberries? I can't even remember. But if you had a CD from the 90s from an indie band, it's because you saw them live, and probably because you bought it from them. You gave them the $5, $10, they gave you the CD, or the tape or whatever. And you felt like you were in this like cool inner circle. Like when I got a CD from this band, I met them. And it's almost the only way you could buy the CDs, if you met them. Nowadays, indie music is all over the place, but it's not having the impact. These up and coming bands, these indie bands, are not having the impact that I think they should have. I think these indie bands that we see today, they put videos on YouTube and it kind of gets taken for granted. It's just another indie band on YouTube. And I almost feel like it's my responsibility to say, hey, this is not just your average indie band. These guys are huge. And I don't want to say if the stars align, because I don't believe in astrology, but if things align correctly, they'll make it big. These guys will make it big. They will be huge. And I think about that a lot. I mean, honestly, I think about like Led Zeppelin. They came in late to the game after a few other bands that started the British invasion, after the Rolling Stones, even after Pink Floyd, but like after the Rolling Stones, after Pink Floyd, although they were different back then, after the Beatles. I look at Led Zeppelin, and I think their first album was '69, so it was quite a few years after the British invasion had started. Nothing at that time sounded like that. We take it for granted, especially if you're in your teens or 20s now and you like that rock and roll sound and you hear Led Zeppelin. They were the first band that really sounded like that. And even when you compare them to the Rolling Stones, they might have a similar like blues background or bass. The Rolling Stone, the Led Zeppelin was very different, and they were accepted. But you see, because of the lack of social media, you had to have professionals get behind them. They had to be sponsored and picked up by agents and record labels and everything else and promoted in a special kind of way. And there was no other type of self-promotion. None. I mean, yeah, you played in the corner with a piece of paper in your hand. Someone walked by and you said, "Hey, this is me. I'm going to be at this place next week. Come by and buy my CD." Well, I mean, back in the 60s and 70s, it's like, come back and see me play again. Give me $1. I mean, you couldn't do anything. You really couldn't. You make a record. You know how much it cost? It was the elite of the elite who actually got these record deals and got their music produced. So when people got behind a band, it was huge, Today, it's not like that. Today, indie musicians are all over the place, everywhere. The problem is that indie musicians are all over the place. They're everywhere. And that means that a lot relies on you, the listener. And I know that sounds so cliche, but you have got to determine, you have got to listen and determine which bands are worth listening to and which bands aren't. Today's song is by a duo. I mean, a duet, I guess. I don't know. This dynamic duo out of Ireland. Susan O'Neill, and Mick Flannery. The name of the song is Chain Reaction. Now, I just need you to listen to the song. I'm gonna play the song and let it play all the way through. All right. We'll talk about the song afterwards. I'm just going to play the song. So here it is. Without any further ado, here is the song Chain Reaction by Mick Flannery and Susan O'Neill. Now, as you listen to this song, I think what I really need you to do is to take into consideration that, they're essentially the indie of they're indie artists. Mick Flannery has a little bit more notoriety, in Ireland. He has a couple albums that he's done, and Susan O'Neill, in her own right, has had a few releases. But together, and with whatever team that they're using, it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time. And imagine being like the agent who first heard Stevie Nicks and thought, wow, this is gold. That's what I think we have with Susan O'Neill. So just listen to Susan O'Neill and listen to this song, and then you tell me in the comment section below what you think of this song.
You caused a chain reaction. You made
right, I'm going to stop it right here. I mean, that the song actually does do about a 30-second, almost a 30-second fade out, which is nice. But I love how the song starts with ba 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 da da ba and ends with the same thing. I like that. Those little, nuances in music. In that case, we would probably call it like a motif or whatever. Um, they kind of make a song, and the funny thing is, it's not what made this song. Her voice, first of all, the raspiness in her voice, and as you noticed in the comments as the song was being played, I put some comments in there. And as you noticed, there are a few things that make this song so insanely special. And this is just one song. And they cut an album just recently, a brand new album. They're working together on more music. I believe they have 2 singles right now released out of this album. There's this and another single. I'll put it in the comment section below. I'll put a link down below with the information. But this is one song out of the whole album that they worked on together. And to me, it's a matter of time before it's. I mean, I hope it's a matter of time before 2 wonderful musicians and songwriters and talents like this, become, I don't want to say become a household name, but they become, a heck of a lot more popular than they are right now. I feel like they're really underrated. I just do. I know that they really are indie, and they've got to break out of Ireland. And that's the thing right now, is that both of them, especially Mick, they're both popular in Ireland. And it's like, this is just good music. I would rather hear this than maybe like 90% of Fleetwood Mac songs. Call me crazy if you will. Those bands from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s were huge because they had sponsorship. They had people getting behind them, people with money and influence. You know how many bands there were? Really? In the 60s, 70s, and 80s who just gave up after writing 15 songs because they realized they had to put food on there. They had to they had to live. They had to work. They had to pay the bills, had to put food on the table. Do you know how many people out there wrote music just as good, if not better, according to your taste, of course, than Fleetwood Mac and all these other bands that came out in the 60s and 70s? Tons of people did. Tons of people. It's actually innumerable, the amount of people that have talent enough to write good music and to play it. They tried for a couple of years. Life got in the way. Here's this couple here who they have obviously they have people behind them. I mean, who made this video? So they have a team working with them. They produced this album that just came out. I believe the album is called In the Game. With a double check. Again, I'll put all the information down below in the comment section or in the description down below. And I'll put any links that might be necessary down there. But this song is absolutely amazing, and you've probably noticed, and it's important too, as you watch the song, as you hear the song and watch the video. I put comments in there as to what makes this song so good. The backing vocals coming in at the last couple of words of the verses. I believe after the second chorus, I'll have to count, but I think it was after the second chorus, they come in for a third verse, and then like all this background music kind of pulls away, kind of like a vacuum, and all of a sudden your focus is now on that next verse. And what they did was addition by subtraction. They took away a bunch of stuff. So now you're hyper-focused on what's coming next. What's coming next? A third verse. A third verse. It's not anything new, but it's a new way of presenting what they believe to be a very integral part of the song, which is the verse. In this case, I believe the verses are just really key to how the song is structured, and I would think that they believe the same thing, and that's why they presented that verse that way. They just took everything away and they said, "Here it is again," but kind of differently in a way that makes you pay more attention. So that's it. This episode of Indie is In. Check out the band, or I should say, check out the duo, Mick Flannery and Susan O'Neill. The song Chain Reaction. The link down below is going to have a bunch of their stuff on it. Please check them out. Get behind them. Follow them on YouTube. Do what you can to support them. If you like their music, I mean, they want to hear it. Susan is awesome, by the way. Before she got into this project with Mick, I had been in contact with her, and I asked her to work on a song with me. She heard the song. She listened to it. She got back to me. Artie, great song. I would love to sing it. I can't. I'm being told right now to stop the collaborating. And she was collaborating with other musicians from Ireland. I think Claire Sands. She has a song with Claire Sands. Claire's another one I think I'm going to do a video about. But she's got a video out there with Claire Sands, and she's been collaborating with other musicians. And she got back to me. Hey, I'm being told to slow down with the collaborations because of what I'm working on now. When a musician is told by their agent or by their manager, don't collaborate anymore, let's focus on the project at hand, it's because the project at hand is potentially a good one and something that could potentially catch fire. And I hope that this couple catches fire. I want to see Mick Flannery and Susan O'Neill catch fire. Not physically, because that would be horrible. But I mean, I want to see what they do to just, bam, take the world by storm. I think that this music is beautiful. Anyways, that's this episode of Indie is In. Please leave some comments down below. Until next time, this is Artie Astor, your host. Thanks for listening.